Welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about the concept of burnout in neuroscience perspective. It is such a common experience, but did you know there is actually some pretty fascinating neuroscience behind it? I mean, we often think of burnout as just feeling really tired or stressed, but it is actually changing our brain in some pretty wild ways. Think of it like you have been working crazy for a week, maybe even months. You are exhausted, stressed out, and feeling like you are just going through the motions. That's burnout in a nutshell. But all that stress is literally rewiring your brain. When you are constantly under stress, your brain goes into survival mode. It's like your brain is saying, hey, things are tough out there. We need to be on high alert. This causes some pretty significant changes in how your brain functions. Let's talk about the prefrontal cortex for a second. It's like the CEO of our brains, responsible for all the complex thinking stuff. Logic, decision making, and long-term planning. When we are burned out, this area actually starts to thin out. Yes, you heard right. The gray matter in this crucial part of our brain starts to disappear. But while our prefrontal cortex is checking out, another part of our brain is working overtime. Enter the amygdala, our brain's alarm system. This little almond-shaped structure is responsible for our fight or flight response. When we are burned out, it actually gets bigger. It's like our brain fire alarm is getting louder and more sensitive. Now imagine what happens when you have got a weakened prefrontal cortex and overactive amygdala. It is a recipe for disaster. You are more likely to overreact to the small stressor. You have trouble making decisions and you might find it hard to control your emotion. But this imbalance in your brain creates a vicious cycle. The more stress you get, the more your amygdala fire up, which in turn stresses you out even more. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, which is supposed to help you cope up with the stress, is getting weaker and weaker. It's like your brain is stuck in a loop of stress and negativity. You might be wondering, how do I know if I am actually burnt out? Well, there are three main symptoms to look out for. First, there is exhaustion. This is not just feeling tired after a long day. We are talking bone deep fatigue that does not go away even after a good night's sleep. And second, there is distrust, and you can say escapism. You might start feeling disconnected from your work or the people around you. Everything seems pointless and you just can't bring yourself to care. Finally, there is inefficacy. You start feeling like you are not accomplishing anything, no matter how hard you try. Your productivity takes a nosedive and you might start doubting your ability. Let's dive a bit deeper into the brain chemistry of burnout. There is this thing called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF for short. It's like miracle grow for your brain cell, helping them grow and form new connections. But when you are burned out, your BDNF level drop. This makes it harder for your brain to form new connections and even speed up the death of existing brain cells. No wonder you feel foggy and have trouble learning new things. When you are burned out, all these changes in your brain can actually affect how you perceive the world around you. Remember how I mentioned that your amygdala gets more active? Well, this can cause you to see the neutral things as a threatening. For example, let's say you are walking down the street and someone looks at you. Normally you might not think twice about it, but when you are burned out, your overactive amygdala might interpret that neutral look as a hostile. Suddenly you are feeling anxious and angry for no real reason. Burnout is not just messing with your mind, it's taking a toll on your body too. All that stress can lead to physical symptoms like headache, muscle tension, and digestive issue. You might find yourself getting sick more often because chronic stress can weaken your immune system. And let's not forget about sleep. When you are burned out, your sleep pattern can get messed up. You might have trouble falling asleep, or you might wake up in the middle of night with your mind racing. And even when you do sleep, you might not feel rested when you wake up. Now you might be thinking, okay, this sounds bad, but surely it's not permanent, right? Well, the good news is that your brain is pretty resilient, but the longer you stay in such a state, the harder it can be to bounce back. Chronic burnout can lead to more serious mental health issues like depression and anxiety. It can also increase your risk of physical health problems like heart disease and diabetes. So it's definitely not something you want to ignore, right? Alright my friend, I know this all sounds pretty doom and gloom. Here is the good news. Your brain can recover from burnout. Remember how I said your brain is resilient? Well, it is true. Your brain has this amazing ability called neuroplasticity, which means it can change and adapt. Studies have shown that with the right intervention, you can actually reverse some of the brain changes caused by burnout. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy has been shown to reduce the size of amygdala and help prefrontal cortex return to its pre-stress state. But you don't necessarily need formal therapy for a start recovering from burnout. There are a lot of things you can do on your own to help your brain heal. One of most important things you can do is give yourself time to rest and recharge. This might mean taking a vacation, cutting back on your work hour, or just making sure you are getting enough sleep each night. Exercise is another great tool for the combating burnout. It helps reduce stress, boost your mood, and can even promote the growth of new brain cells. You don't need to run a marathon. Even a daily walk can make a big difference. Mindful practices like meditation can also be really helpful. They can help you manage stress, improve your focus, and even increase the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex. Connecting with others is crucial too. Could you remember that escapism symptom I mentioned earlier? Well, spending time with friends and loved ones can help counteract that feeling of disconnection. And don't forget about the hobbies and activities you enjoy. Engaging in creative pursuit or hand-on activities can be really the therapeutic. It gives your brain a chance to focus on something enjoyable and rewarding, which can help balance out the stress. Of course, the best way to heal with the burnout is to prevent it from the happening in the first place. This is where the concept of control comes in. Research has shown that if you feel in control of your stressor, you are less likely to experience negative brain changes associated with burnout. So what does this mean in practice? It might involve setting boundaries at work, learning to say no to extra commitments, or finding ways to make your work more meaningful and engaging. It's also recognizing the early sign of burnout and taking action before things get too bad. Now, important to note that The burnout is not just an individual problem, it's a societal issue. Many workplaces have culture that contribute to burnout, with long hours, high pressure and little support. So while individual strategies are important, we also need to think about how we can create healthier work environment that don't lead to burnout in the first place. So the neuroscience of burnout in a nutshell, it's pretty wild to think that stress can actually change the structure and function of our brain, isn't it? But remember my friend, as powerful as these effects are, they are not set in stone. Our brains are incredibly adaptable, and with the right strategy, we can overcome burnout and get back to feeling like ourselves again. The key is to recognize the sign early, take action to reduce stress, and give your brain the support it needs to recover. So the next time you are feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, remember it's not just in your head. Your brain is going through some real changes. But with some self-care, support and maybe a bit professional help if you need it, you can help your brain recover and get back feeling balanced and energized. Anyway, I hope this video help you a better understanding of what's going on when we feel burnout. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.